Hello, Fierce Factor. I'm super excited for this interview that has been a long time coming with our lovely client, friend, and beautiful mentor and icon of the aesthetic industry, Jessica Christy, who is tuning in from her beautiful new bathroom, actually, which just sounds crazy, but when you see it, you're going to be like, I need that opulence in my life. It's exquisite. So Jessica Christy is the owner and fabulous CEO and visionary behind Beauty Culture Med Spa in Bloomfield, Michigan. And if you have not seen Jessica and her reels on the IG, then you probably are living under a rock. So you'll definitely want to check her out. Jessica, welcome. So excited to have you on the Fierce Factor.
I feel like this is definitely a pinch me moment. I can't believe that I'm here with you. I'm honored.
You're so funny. Okay, so let's dive in. Jessica, tell if you could just talk a little bit about beauty culture and how you got started, a little bit about the background of your beautiful business.
Absolutely. So being a physician assistant, I love medicine and I love the whole, I loved learning and being a forever student. And it slowly led me into dermatology, which I loved, but I really fell in love with aesthetics once I started to do that. And I found myself happiest with patients when I was helping them feel more confident and better about themselves. But I hadn't found the right practice to really give me freedom. And I always felt like my wings were being clipped. And so about July of 2019, I opened Beauty Culture, which was meant to be this small little personal space where I could occasionally see patients and treat them. But I remember even thinking, I won't even need a nanny. Like if I don't have patients one day, I can be home with my little kids. And that was,
a dream
lie that I told myself. And it has blown up beyond my wildest dreams with this incredible team of aesthetic practitioners. And now almost 4 years in, we are focused on regenerative type of aesthetics. And I'm now starting to speak on a lot of different boards, and I'm an Allergan trainer and a key opinion leader now for Silfirm and Benev, which happened yesterday, which I forgot to share with you. But it's just really crazy to see all of that hard work and that passion start to be, recognized by other members in the community.
That's amazing. So when you talk about your wings being clipped, talk to me about that.
I definitely am a big fan of freedom and, freedom of the way that I want to direct an appointment. And so being in medical dermatology, I didn't have a lot of freedom of my schedule. So I would have a 30-minute time slot just kind of shoved into all these other 15-minute medical derm appointments. And I just never felt like that was an adequate amount of time to capture what a woman or a man's true needs were, to get to know them, to build a trusting relationship. And I was constantly having this push-pull tug of like, you're in the room too long, you're not seeing enough people. And then, also the patient deserved my undying attention and that kind of a vulnerable appointment. So I wanted it to look differently. I wanted it to be a culture of people that wanted to be at work, people that you choose to be around. And so that is, the birth of the name of my business, which is Beauty Culture.
That's beautiful. And it seems as if, and I've been in this business for a long time. And as from in our community, and obviously just the work, over time, as our industry has grown so quickly, working with so many aesthetic practices, like 4 years in, and, there's some that, and look, success takes time, right? And so I think a lot of people are like, how do you grow so fast in 4 years, right? And I mean, your mind's even blown. And We joke, like in Confidence to Scale, we talk a lot about like success by accident, and so there is that sort of boom that's happened just from an industry standpoint.
Yes.
But I do think not everybody feels joyous along the process, right? And obviously there's ups and downs in any entrepreneurial environment. But you have, you've definitely endured some ups and downs, but let's talk a little bit about that growth, like your, let's call it like rapid, exciting, like high traction growth. Is there something, are there things that you feel like you could pinpoint and say, these are some of the things that I implemented that have really, given me the tailwind or helped let me leverage this kind of growth so quickly?
Yes. So one of the things was believing that I could do it and having the confidence, which I've had to tap into all along. But I loved when we shared with each other and realized that we both had that Start Today journal by Rachel Hollis, really truly manifesting and writing down as if I had done these things really, really helped me shape the fact that I could do it. We're all, worthy of whatever cause we decide to commit to. And then in terms of being able to keep growing, I think that it was so massive to revisit at each stage of growth. And sometimes it happens intentionally. And there have been moments where it happened to me and for me, ultimately in my business, where you have to stop and revisit what are our goals now? What does beauty culture need me to be? I am not beauty culture. And when either, again, intentionally or whether it's forced upon you, I think that shifting and being fluid and really leaning into what you're being told and what your business needs of you has really, really helped the growth mindset of everything.
Mm-hmm. Meaning what you're being told, like intuitively.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is obviously a practice. I think it comes easier to some than others. I've naturally kind of always led with my heart, but I was speaking to a friend and she said, you have 3 centers. You have your head, your heart, and your gut. And when all of those things are not aligned, there's something to discover there. And so I've kind of used that as a newer adopted practice where if those things are not aligned for me, I kind of go back to the drawing board and kind of sit with where that could be not working so well.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody that is like, that's amazing, Jessica. I love that you like journal and revisit your, intuition and, stop and think and plan and invest time into that. But I don't have the time to do that.
Yes.
What would you say to someone who said,
I truthfully do not. I mean, we all don't. We all could fill this. We have the same 24 hours in a day. And I think that the beauty in that is that you get to decide what that looks like. And sometimes it's taking that temporary risk to really commit that and discipline yourself to that time. But you can find 5 minutes. And in fact, that journal that I had, I used to get to work 5 minutes early out of the house from literally 2 babies and a husband and a whole household that really truly needed me to be there 5 minutes longer. And I would just quickly find something that worked for me like that to spend 5 minutes. And as I think I built that confidence to see it starting to come to fruition and those things actually happened, it made me feel like, wow, there's really something to this. And I truly need to do this. It's not a luxury to have time to journal.
Mm-hmm. Same for me. I feel like I'm off. Like if I can sense something's not right, and then I'll go back and look and I'm like, I haven't done gratitude in like a month or something or weeks. Like I'm off track, So I remember we met last year. You were in a workshop that I hosted, the Scale Philosophy Roadmap for Female Entrepreneurs. And it totally stuck with me, something you said in the audience when we were kind of sharing as a group. And you talked about, it had to do with the fear of, really investing in new team members and training an injector and the fear of them leaving. And I didn't know at the time what you had been through, which I would love to kind of bring to the table. But what stood out for me was you said, what's important for me and an employee is that they believe in this idea of the same thing we're talking about, of the investment in themselves as a human being. And so, I don't think I had heard that ever before from an employer in our industry, that it's not about how skilled they are as an injector. It's really truly about who they are as a person. So I would love for you to share, your philosophy around that. And also talk about the experience that you went through that sort of sets the stage for, the underpins this sort of thought process and frame of mind.
Yes. So, yeah, I definitely, I mean, it's like where to start, right? So I think that one of the things that I learned from you, and it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, I was definitely leaning into those thoughts, but you have helped me. And I think that that's what the beauty of what you do is, you help people that already, you can see in them the intent, and you help bring and blossom those things out of them, and how greatly that has enriched what I'm doing. I can't even, I can't even put into words right now, but I don't have the time. But I really recognized that I cannot hire for the duties that someone needs to take off of my plate. And I recognize something that you said to me is like, we write love letters to these future team members, because truly that's what it is. It's this relationship that is more than just taking duties and to-dos off of your task list. And I think, I was dragging my business behind me, and I thought that, we were growing so quickly and very organically. And I think a lot of that had to do with the authenticity of me being beauty culture. But I really was exhausted by physically dragging my business and being like, don't you guys want a journal? And like, don't, like, if you don't, that's okay. Like, you do I just thought, if I give people complete autonomy, if I didn't bother them because I didn't appreciate my wings being clipped, and I paid them as much as I could, that why would someone leave? And then it happened. And I had kind of very few key players of my business that were really like the legs of where beauty culture began to expand. They left and actually started a new practice, which is really commonplace in our industry. And a lot of our, team members in the groups that we're in, they're so fearful to, like the hiring PTSD was such an amazing podcast. And they're so fearful to go down that road again. And I get it, because it is painful, but I truly leaned into that experience. And instead of being angry or, and of course it wasn't just overnight, but instead of being angry or blaming or thinking, gosh, what else could you have wanted? I really used that hole that I was now looking at as like, I'm not going to replace it with that same like thing. I'm really going to look at this and look at beauty culture and what it needs me to be, and what other people need to come into this place to make it what the vision for this whole business is supposed to be, and where is it going to go. And so with that, I decided to not be angry. I only have a certain amount of energy. I decided to really focus that energy into that growth and foster the people that truly I felt like wanted to be there. And as if I retrospectively wrote them a love letter. And I'm thankful for the people that actually left, because they weren't aligned with our mission and our vision. And I really, truly wish them the best. And there's so much beauty in letting that go.
Yeah. So you so gracefully talk about this, but your, primary team members left and started a competitive business next door. I mean, like not figuratively next door, down the street. And so I think it's important for, just for business owners who are listening and who are feeling that fear. And we almost project and anticipate, like I'll hear things like the embarrassment I'll feel if someone leaves, or they'll take all my stuff, or right. And so I think it's so powerful to speak to somebody who has been through that experience and only grew stronger through it. And also just hats off to you for not not only not being upset, and pointing that anger to somebody else and blaming, but also not shaming yourself for it and learning, looking at, okay, what are we going to learn? And let's sort of move on and grow. And you talk about not filling that hole with the same thing. And it's so fascinating to me because as I've learned through our conversations, obviously a lot about your approach to finding people on your team. And I remember we were on a call and you said, I'm in an interview asking questions to understand who they are and their character, not about all of the other fluffy things that maybe in the beginning, in the past you had those, that approach had been different. What did you learn from this experience? And can you share a little bit about that, that interaction with future team members and with team members as you hire, and the things that the questions you're asking, and things that you're looking for to identify if they're going to be a great fit for beauty culture?
Yeah. I think one of the things that happened, and I'll call it a mistake, but hindsight's always 2020, of course, but I think one of the things that I needed to do was really, as beauty culture had changed and as it actually became something that I really truly never intended it to become, it's like, okay, well, now it is here. Do I have a choice? Do I want it to be this? Yeah, let's go with this. And then when I came to your workshop, which I don't even really know how I signed up for, I had told you that, which is so funny. It was truly a manifested situation. I was like, wow, I actually don't know what my vision or mission is. I really, truly don't. And I actually was struggling. Why do I love aesthetics so much? I don't really look so much. I don't judge myself by that. That's not my number one priority. And so I really, truly was leaning into, why do I care so much about this industry? And so it was at this really crucial, pivotal time where I really had to put pen to paper and sit down and spend. And that's why that journaling thing, that's not an option, because if I wouldn't have done that, and if I wouldn't have gone back to the drawing board, I could have gone one or two paths, and I chose the upward exponential path, and hopefully the positive path for all the people on my team. And so when I think about that, first of all, it's being so clear about who we are, what our vision is, and what our mission is. And, a lot of your core values for your team are so similar now to what I talk to my team about, and, being all in and being very passionate about their continued education. And so now I look for those things. The other thing is I learned from Dan Sullivan. He's a coach, and he would do these one-on-one meetings with his best clients. And he would just have these open-ended questions and ask for insights and really create this safe space for discussing fears. And so I implemented those with my team. And that's something that was so mutually beneficial. And it just really filled all of our souls, I think, with so much zest for the future. And it was such a good time to check in. I wish that I would have implemented those from the beginning, because I think I would have had a better finger on the pulse of people that weren't there for the right reason. That's been a huge game changer. And then I get to know exactly what is going to keep someone happy and what their goals are. And it's also encouraged me to do what you've been encouraging me to do, and a lot of other people, is become more of the CEO of that brand in your business. And you're the one that's responsible for marching that vision right down the lane. And so I'm able to make those things happen for the people that are truly out there doing the work. And I get to step back and support them. And that was hard for me, because patient care truly is where I'm so passionate, and in the room with a patient is my favorite thing ever. But when you're a true leader, it's not about you, it's about them. And if I can transform their lives and give them what they need to feel fulfilled, they get to enrich this whole other community of people. And happier women in Metro Detroit is just going to be a better situation.
I remember you saying, and I'm trying to look through my notes real quick, I don't remember it, but I remember writing it down, that you ask in an interview, what's the last book you read? What are you reading right now? are they somebody who's investing in themselves, like learning more about them? Like, what do you do for, like, what are your hobbies? What are the things? I remember recently someone telling me my mind was blown when my employee told me they weren't motivated by money. And actually, when this airs, this next podcast, that it will have been the one before our podcast, but I discussed developing compensation plans. And that's one of the biggest problems that happens is we build a comp plan assuming that people just want money and that they're not in it for, it's like, let's give people more credit, right? Do they not want to grow as human beings? Are we not looking for people that are all about that? So it's just such a testament to, the philosophy around which we all strive for and we all want it. Like, no one's going to say, I don't want to love my people and I don't want to invest in my team. Everybody wants to do it. But when the rubber hits the road, we go back to old habits. We go back to what we know, and we feel scared to invest because it's sort of this like lack mindset, like, but they may take, or I'm giving them too much, And I would love to just to kind of, dive one layer deeper into that. You've got, a big team and a lot of things going on, and a training center, and, your practice, and then all the other things you have, like in terms of your leadership on these advisory boards and trainings and things like that. So, and you're making amazing videos, and you're just always omnipresent. But when we talk, what I know about Jessica Christy and her core values, it's truly about building and developing the team. How do you do that? Like, how do you show up as a great leader when you are being pulled in 30,000 different directions? Oh, by the way, a wife and mom, name all the hats. How do you show up as a leader that the team and the business needs when you have so many things going on?
Well, one thing that has continued to resonate in the last, probably 8 months has been systems. And so anytime that and it's sort of cliche, I think that anyone who's ever read a book on, improving their self-help kind of a book, if someone else can do something just as good as you and you're not uber passionate about it, please move it off your plate. Like, I have someone that is helping make clean meals for my family because that's super important to me, but I can't do it. I need someone to help me clean my house. And because my time is not spent, I actually enjoy cleaning my own house, but my time is not well spent doing something like that. And it is a consistent thing of all these plates spinning, and which ones do I personally love spinning and I need to keep spinning and need my brain and my heart and my gut, and which ones can I say, can you come in and keep spinning this for me? And I think we talked about too, even having accountability between that. I have team members that will say, because I will fall into the trap sometimes of saying, oh no, I'll see that patient, I'll come in for that patient. And I have team members that say, no, if you want these other things and these other priorities that you told me that you want to do, and you're passionate about education and you're passionate about building, this sector of your training spa, then you cannot do this. And the things that you say no to, they aren't always bad things. Like, when I want to see someone that's enriched my life and started my practice with me, it's really hard to give them to another provider. Mm-hmm. First of all, we all struggle with control, and also it just feels good. I love that person. And so having the accountability has really, really helped me. And then that way I can show up for the things that are truly important.
Yeah. That resonates for me, as I worked with a coach to get through that same sort of place in my business. And I began to challenge myself and say, Kaylee, if you're so great at what you do, and if you're so smart and everybody wants you so bad, and you're such a good teacher and you're so right, like, why can't you then develop a team who is just as good or stronger than you? Right. And so I sort of shifted, whereas I think we forget about that part. And I hear, and doing the work that we do and see it again. And now that you're getting exposure yourself to many of, our Academy members at different stages in their business and life, you hear a lot of the same concerns about being able to shift into that CEO role because everybody needs me. My clients need me, my patients need me, my team, right? Everybody needs me. And you realize that that's you wanting to be needed. And that if you do put the systems in place and you do start to allow yourself to feel that anxiety, separation anxiety a little bit and let it happen, you've actually built something really beautiful that now other people can go and perpetuate. But it's making that decision, having that mindset that I'm going to be willing to go through some of those growing pains to transition into the woman that I need to become to run this company.
Yes. Yes. And, everyone is watching. Your children are watching, your team members are watching, and we have a chance to either show them what it looks like to run yourself ragged and become ill because you're living in this state of chronic inflammation from, your adrenaline pumping all the time, or you can show them that we all have choices on what a priority is and you asked me a really good question when we first started this whole journey. It's what does your ideal week look like? And if that's what your week if that's what your week looks like, then what does that mean for you and the most important people in your life?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you can keep going back to that, it can't really steer you wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we tell ourselves that the thing we're working for is going to give us the thing that we could already have now, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what I'm building is going to give me this freedom and this autonomy and this flexibility down the road. But ironically, if you're really focused and clear about what you want, you can have it now. You just have to be willing to change your habits and get the support for the other things. Like I wrote down, I need a clean meal lady. Mm-hmm. Like that. I do have some stuff delivered, but that would absolutely be helpful for me too. And I also think, Jessica, I love this conversation because, one of the biggest, propellers for us as a company to achieve our mission is to really shift the narrative of the way that women have to show up as leaders in businesses. And we have women like you building multi-million-dollar empires who are still moms, right? Who still are able to have relationships, care about friendships, care about want to go lay out on the lake, during the summer and drink, Trulies or whatever, Vouv, but, and want to have like a well-rounded life. And we have not been shown what's possible because this is so new. And I think our industry is really leading the way, because there's just so many young females that are out just crushing it. So I think also what's important is hearing that, like the permission, it's okay to get help, like, to get someone to, support you cleaning your house, to take your returns, to pick up your dry cleaning, like do those things. Like you're not obligated to do that if you truly choose to live a life in a way that, affords you the time to spend with the people you love and doing the things that you really love to do. So we talk a lot about like, here's somebody who's building a really successful business. And even I remember when we first started working together, you were like, I want all these locations and here's how I want to expand. And going through this work, you've really dove a lot deeper into beauty culture and like what it means versus trying to go out. And I think a lot of people, they instantly think, okay, now this is running, next step, add, next step, add, next step, add. And that has been one of the things I've admired most about you. And I can see how much more in love you are with the work you do and the relationships and interactions. And I think a direct output of that, a direct result is what you just opened up by talking about, being welcomed onto all these advisory boards, building your thought leadership in the industry and really expanding the brand. And I think a lot of people think, well, I need to be everywhere, and they dilute themselves and thin themselves out. And to me, it's about truly, that's a strategy, but it's about your mindset around that, right? It's around your mindset around overall growth and overall, diving into your own definition of success. So I'd love to just take a minute to really talk about that. How for you, the mindset piece of business, fits in with strategy. Where do you balance all of that, and where do you focus your power in terms of making decisions around growth?
Yeah, I think so much of that is shutting out the noise of what everyone else is telling you, what the trends in this business are doing. And so, private equity is such a huge one. And so how do you maximize a private equity type of a transaction, multiple locations? And so then you're kind of telling yourself, well, I guess maybe someday that would be something that, I should start planning for, I guess better get that ball rolling. And when I really sat down and I gave myself, first of all, the space, the alone time, shutting out the noise of what anyone, even people in your inner circle, really truly meditating on what I see a business that makes me joyous and not want to walk away from looks like. It was not multiple locations. It may be a pop-up somewhere warmer and sunnier, but it is focusing on one thing and giving that my full attention. And for right now, that's the single location at Beauty Culture. And, even sans the employees that I lost this year, I'm being obviously much more strategic and much more careful about who I'm allowing into my ecosystem. And which we've talked about a lot, and I love that analogy, but I also, I actually am doing far better financially and as a company with focusing. And I think I listen to some people either talk on, different platforms or within our group, and they're so nervous about the productivity part. But when you really get so clear, this sounds crazy, but I don't look at numbers ever, because I don't have to. It's something that I'm not passionate about, so I get to move it off my plate. And I have a team that does that. But I don't know why, even I'm surprised that with many less team members that have not been replaced, I'm doing better numbers wise than I was with people that weren't meant to be there. And I don't like to talk about numbers that much, because that's not like that's not the passion thing for me. But I think that it's important for people that are focused on like, gosh, I just got to grind and grind and grind. And the most important thing is like how much growth and how much more I'm making, when true scale comes from a different place.
Isn't it true too? Because we talk about in our company clean money, like money that feels good, that's in alignment with our core values. Like we don't, we really try to choose and select who we get to work with and in a way so that we're all successful, and that can be hard. Like in the beginning, you're like, I just need the business and I need the business to grow. But I think it's interesting because if you really think about it, what you're saying is we had less resources and we did better and we did more. And it's funny because when you're in that position, when you're back sort of against the wall, or when, you get into a space where you have to be more strategic than just, let's just like wing it and throw spaghetti at the wall, right? Or it's just focused on growth. You start thinking it's that 80-20 rule. You start focusing on, what are the things that are actually moving the needle for me? What do I love? What do I enjoy? And I'm not surprised, honestly, when you tell me I don't look a lot at my numbers, because success is subjective. And I've got to a point where it was all about the numbers for me at one point. And because I thought that's what it had to be. And I realized at what cost, I was in corporate America before I left, an ulcer, hair falling out, like gaining weight, never home, like broken relationships. And it's like, is that worth how much money you're going to like, at what cost? Mm-hmm. And so it feels counterintuitive, but like actually narrowing down and diving really deep into the things that actually matter, create such a tremendous like multiplier of impact.
Yes. And getting people out of there may be people within your organization that are more focused on things like that. And you almost have to either remind them or move them out if that's their focus, because they're going to continue to cloud your judgment of what's truly important. Anything that's standing in your way, you got to clear the path.
Yeah. So again, like for all of y'all listening, right? Listen to what Jessica's saying. It's first of all, getting focused on what the plan is and where you're headed. And I think in the beginning too, like, don't like beat yourself up if you're grinding and like trying to get sales. Like, yeah, that you got to kind of hustle a little bit, you know, when you get started, but have a place to go, like know where you're headed, know what it's worth, or you will burn out. You will, like, you know, and your team will see that. I love that was such a powerful point, that we forget we're an example. Like, we show up with our hair on fire and we think our team's supposed to have it all together. Like, then we're their leader, you know? It's like, no, we set the example and the tone and show them what's expected of the way that we show up in our business. So, okay. I would love for you to share a few of your like favorite podcasts or mentors or books. Like, where does Jessica turn to support her through this? The personal and professional development, you know, all of that good stuff that really helps you strengthen and polish your mindset.
Yes. So I love, first of all, your podcast, not to like, you know, blow it up, but I really, truly do. And in fact, I've brought other people kind of into our group because I thought, gosh, you really need to hear this. And even other female leaders, I think, can take such value from your points. And another thing that I love about you is you're super authentic in terms of like, this is where I learned this. This is the coach I learned this. And so then it gives me this web of other people that I also can start listening to. Like, I really love Kelly Roach as well. And I think that so much of what she says resonates. I also love finding people like Dan Sullivan has been a huge source of, I love listening to his voice. It's very soothing. But he has so much to say, and he concisely really lays out important things for me. Like, he really helped me develop the whole freedoms of it, what my motivators are, like freedom of relationships and what I want my life to look like, and freedom of time eventually, but you know, there's goals there too. And then I love his book, Who Not How, which is really something that helped me start to strategize of, okay, I don't need to be doing all of these different things. So he's been probably one of the biggest sources of support up until I started getting to work with you one-on-one. And you know where I found him? Literally from one of my patient care coordinators who is also passionate about self-growth. And she sends me, you know, like, oh gosh, you got to listen to this one. How crazy amazing this podcast was. And it totally speaks to what we're doing right now. And what a relationship and a friendship. And it's invaluable. Another person, and then a lot of times they will host people that it will have books. And I think, oh gosh, I really need to know more about that. And I was just telling a friend this morning. So we were on our group call, and one of your, another amazing woman that you coach shared a talk. And I asked her at the end, because I love to ask people, what is one book? Because she was referencing a lot of books she read. Like, what is one book that you read that really, truly changed your outlook? And it's funny because I listened to a podcast first on this man and this book, because I always do that. I want to know, like, what kind of investment am I making here? And it was not applicable for me. I don't have those same struggles or hurdles, but it was so applicable for someone so crucial in my life. And now I'm watching that transform that person. And it's just like amazing, that network and that web of like-minded people. But another, like, I think the biggest probably person that's changed how I lead and how I am in my business is Brene Brown, because she has taught me, I think, you know, when you touch on people saying, I am scared to look stupid that someone's going to leave my business, or like, am I going to look like the weak one and now they're the new spot? It really helped me lean into vulnerability, and it helped me say that it's okay to, appear weak to some, because you're going to look strong to the others by owning and being authentic. And the people that truly are going to stand by your side for the long haul are the people that are going to say, gosh, I really resonate. And I really respect the fact that she's so real and admits that there's struggle along this whole journey.
I love that. I found that too. just over, team and leadership and team building and going through those stages of, self-proclaimed perfectionist. I should say other people proclaimed me a perfectionist. I really don't think I am, but I've been, whatever, it is what it is. But I think that tapping into that. So, if it's Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection, which is funny because I actually have that on my little table here.
Yes, I see it.
But the thing about vulnerability is that it allows us to create space for our team members to also be vulnerable and feel safe failing in front of us. And so mistakes happen. They're failing forward, essentially. They're admitting things like, hey, this didn't work out right. Shame on me, but like really not, because I'm okay with that. I'm not perfect. And how do we remedy this? And how do we grow? And I feel like the team is able to grow and people are able to really advance in their roles and feel more empowered to make independent decisions in your business when you're okay with mistakes. And that starts with vulnerability.
Yes. And, I think a lot of us in this industry come from, I think like in my household growing up, it was like, if there was a conflict, it was like, well, what did you do? And so I think that we start to develop these little defensive exteriors, and it is not natural for me to walk in and really like take ownership and blame for said like situation this, past year with my team. But I really tried that on, and the fruits of that have been so exponential, and just saying, I made this mistake. And there's a fine line. Like, you don't want to walk into your office every day like a hot, vulnerable mess and like look like sometimes truly how I feel on the inside. That's like for me to shut my office door and work on that. But also that is not relatable at all for someone to look at me and think that I do all of the things that it looks like I do on Instagram. And so I just try to own that here and there. Like, I have help.
Yeah. I love that too. So this little like cozy blankie I have here, this also came from a business coach of mine, but my team will see me sometimes on calls, like just wrapped up in this like fuzzy, furry, cozy, like Sherpa, like minky thing. I don't even know. And I'm like, I just need to have like, this is like my little hug. Like, I'm just feeling that today, so it's there for that. It does look pretty, but, to that, I think, your success on Instagram, because we never talk about Instagram strategy. Like, you're never like, oh, I need help, and this and followers. And like, that's never come out of Jessica Christy's mouth one time, FYI. But, what I love too, is like, you make videos with no makeup. Let me show you, like, you show all the sides. Yeah. Right now you're recording without makeup, but it is, but it's important. And people are like, oh, wow, Kaylee, you know how to put makeup on. I rarely ever do. I think that, that people can connect, like from your patients, the people that look up to you can connect with your authenticity. And I think that's important to remember. Like, I made a post about like Peloton, like I was in a sweatshirt and I made a reels like recently, and it was like what other people look like, what I think I look like on a Peloton.
That was so good, by the way. I loved that.
And my son, Cooper, he was like, Mom, why in the world would you put something like that on your Instagram that has nothing to do with your business? And I said, because it's the reality of like who we are as people. Like, we already, you can show anybody what you want them to see. But when you can actually be that person, not only do you feel more aligned, right? You talk about your head, heart, and gut, this is who I am. But then the people that are truly your people are going to be attracted to that. And the people who are not are going to leave. And that's really what you want at the end of the day, is to be surrounded by people that are going to support and uplift you and not be catty, as we've talked about in the past. So
yes. I used to really get nervous. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so many negative comments from that. And it's like, that is great, because it's one person that really isn't aligned with who I am. And that's okay. Totally fine.
Yeah.
It makes room for one more person that is, and finds this.
Yeah.
As funny as I did.
Exactly. We can pray for them. Like, everybody has, we wish success on everyone. Right. So, or for everybody. Okay. So, let's, as we wrap up, I would love for you within, what you're willing to share to talk about where you are. I know you've been going through quite some transition in terms of your role, as we've talked about in the company, but what is the future hold, and what are sort of the next steps and things that you're working on for yourself and also for beauty culture down the road?
Yeah. So number one is continuing to actually put my actions where my mouth is and truly invest in the wonderful women on my team and continue to support them as aesthetic providers. Because I have the right people on the bus, we are massively investing in our own education this year. And that costs money. It is an investment. And could they leave? Absolutely. But I believe, and I believe in them, that if that were to happen, first of all, they would come to me because I've offered them such massive respect and my whole soul, to be honest. But also how amazing if they don't. And that's what I'm going to focus on, is if they stay with our team and we all grow together, it's this amazing, unstoppable force. So that's number one. But then tangibly, I really am looking forward to growing our training spa. I have a newer employee that when I did her one-on-one, one of her insights was, gosh, it's so weird that you have a training spa, because I guess my insight is, and she said this, these were her words, which shows that she really is like out there looking at the kind of self-help kind of stuff already. She said, it's like a scarcity or an abundance over scarcity mindset. And I just think, wow, you're training your competition. And I said, well, the beauty of that is we really, one bad outcome is bad for all of us. And we have this mission to support each other. And that's kind of, I'm trying to change the rhetoric around our close-knit community, and to support each other rather than compete. And people say that all the time, but it doesn't actually happen.
Right. Well, and I hear a lot of women call me when they get to that point where they're like, wow, everybody was cheering for me until I got that award, or I became that or that, or I got just enough recognition and visibility that it made them feel insecure. And then all of a sudden I'm evil, and they're not supporting me in the same way. So it's real, it's out there.
Yes. So that's number one. I want to, web off of what we have now. And there was a need for it. We threw it together, but now we're going back to the drawing board and making it like a 2.0 version and maybe 3.0. And then from there, I really want to focus on scalability where I can be present for my home team, which are my 2 children and my husband, and making sure that we're making memories, because like you said, success comes in many forms and it's personal for everyone, but time is something that you can't get back. And it's not something that you can ever predict. And so I just want to make all those memories and live a good life.
I love that, Jessica. You're such an amazing energy and a light, and been such a pleasure to work with. And I want to thank you so much for your insights today. I know that you're what we've talked about is gonna, help a lot of people, and also validate a lot of things for people who were kind of thinking it, but then weren't seeing it out there and and thought maybe they were off, So Jessica, where can, for those of the podcast listeners who aren't following you already, or familiar with you and your company, where can they go to check out Beauty Culture and Jessica Christy?
My favorite hub is good old Instagram, beautyculture.medspa. And then all the little facets kind of spread off from there. We love a good TikTok account. And then I have a training spa page as well, which is Beauty Culture Training Spa. And that is something that I'm going to dive a little deeper into. My other 2 facets are, you've really encouraged me to create a podcast, because I think I want it to take shape in terms of not necessarily talking all things aesthetics. I really want to highlight the women that have really affected my life. and there's so many. And so I have the book that you sent me for Christmas, along with a very cozy blanket, by the way, that I love. I never said thank you for, which thank you so much. So now, as of these ideas come to my mind and topics come to my mind, I have that pink book with me at all times. It's not ever too far from me. And I write at the top of the page that topic, so that when I get back to it, I won't forget. And there will be brainstormed ideas that you have absolutely influenced. And I will say, I also thank you so much for your podcast, because you give so much away for free. Like, it is such a good resource for someone to gain so much information that may not have the means yet to invest in one-on-one coaching. But it definitely gave me the feeling that this would be such a good interaction for me, and just such a huge rocket ship for our business. And so it's been really fun to peel back the layers and really dive deeper. So I'm so thankful that I went to this little conference, this little workshop.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm not sure how I found you or why I'm here. And I'm like, stop trying to figure it out and just embrace it, because there's a divine reason why, you know, you're here. But the feeling's mutual. Thank you so much for all the gushiness. And I appreciate that, because not everybody is going to, you know, be able to come in and work in, you know, an academy setting and have, you know, such like high touch interaction with a coach right now. But I think for us to accomplish our mission, we need to be able to provide value at different levels and different stages it's about growing the industry. I think you and I are both, you know, like-minded in that. Like, as the tide rises, all the boats rise, and we can all, you know, experience success together. So very, very exciting. Okay, Miss Jessica. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to hear all the notes after this airs and publishes about how incredible you are. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.